Us now, former Manhattan prosecutor Jeremy Saland and CNN legal analyst and former federal prosecutor Jennifer Rogers. Court about to resume in just a few minutes. What will you be looking for today, Jennifer?
Well, I'm looking to see, obviously we have to get through these 39 or so that are still in the box, and so we'll see who we get from there. And then going forward, I want to see if these proportions hold up when you bring another 100 people into the room. Are about 50 of them going to self-excuse? You know, at some point you start to think about who we're left with if we're excluding anyone with strong feelings about Trump, because that suggests not only that they have strong feelings about Trump, but these are the people who follow the news and are up on current events and are kind of steeped in what's happening in the country. If you exclude all of those people, you start to think about, if you're the prosecutor, what are you left with, given that the whole point of their case, they want a little bit of outrage from this jury about the manipulation of the 2016 election.
What impact, if any, Jeremy, might that have other than taking a long time to get through?
Well, on the converse, on the flip of that, the other issue is that the people that you're going to be left with also may have an agenda and want to be there for the wrong reason, and you don't want that either. So this is absolutely going to be a long process. I just had a trial, a much less significant matter that took about two and a half days of jury selection. This is not the former president. This is not something that people would have so much opinions about. But Donald Trump, and especially a sleeping Donald Trump, if true, is not good for finding jurors.
All right, I was going to wait on that, but let's talk about that, because people inside the courtroom, including Maggie Haberman, said it looked like Donald Trump nodded off. His head was nodding, the jaw a little bit slack there. What message does that send to the judge? What message does that send to prospective jurors?
Yeah, well, nothing good. And given the coverage and what his apparent reaction is to it, I suspect it won't happen again. But yeah, no one wants to see the defendant thinking like, this isn't important, your time isn't important, what you're doing here. You know, we're all there for him, right, to do this trial. So, you know, you're wasting all of our time if you're sitting there nodding off. I suspect it won't happen anymore.
I mean, is that the reason why we often see defendants in trials scribbling notes? I often wonder if they're fake notes, if they're just like putting squiggly lines there because they want to look like they're doing something.
Well, I have had some clients just write and doodle just to sort of take their mind off of what's happening. They don't want to have it because there's anxiety. But there's that same anxiety for the jury, especially here when you're giving them a number, not a name, because they fear, right or wrong, that they could be the target or subject of harassment, not necessarily from the former president, but some of his, folks that are out there who are his major supporters. So when it's palpable like that and you are being cavalier, you shouldn't be, and maybe that's not the right term, but be attentive, pay attention, show respect.
I want to delve into the salacious right now, not because it's salacious, but because of the potential legal impact. And just so you both know, I'm going to have the political discussion about this later in the show with Scott Jennings and Bakari Sellers. But what was ruled on yesterday before jury selection is the Access Hollywood tape. They won't be able to play the audio, but they will get to see the transcript and discuss it. On Karen McDougal, who is the former Playboy playmate who allegedly had a relationship with Donald Trump, information about that alleged relationship that will be allowed in, but certain facts will not, as in it took place while Melania Trump allegedly, well, Melania Trump was pregnant. The alleged affair took place while she was pregnant. That won't be allowed to be brought in there. So what's the legal significance of these salacious details? Why does the prosecution want them? Why doesn't the defense?
Well, I think the answer to that is obvious, right? Because people, jurors included, react badly to hearing things like that, right? Your wife was pregnant while you were out running around with these women. That's not good. But what the judge is trying to do is draw this line between what's overly prejudicial and what's probative, right? There's really no reason legally why you need to have in there that Melania was pregnant at the time. That doesn't help prosecutors prove their case. And it's prejudicial to the defendant. So the judge is doing the right thing and saying, in that case, that falls on the not admitted side of the line. Whereas other things that are more relevant, like Karen McDougal's testimony that she also was one of these catch and kill situations, that is relevant and will come in.
How will the prosecution like where the judge came down on that? Did the prosecution get enough? The fact that they can get the transcript of the Access Hollywood tape, is that enough for them?
Yeah, I think it is. Do they want more? You usually want more. But at the same time, you want to protect that record too. So you don't want too much. You don't want an overzealous judge. You need that judge to weigh the balance here and make sure that it's even and fair, because otherwise that's going to be something ripe for the former president to appeal. So you don't want that. They got the meat and potatoes, if you will, of their arguments, pardon me. They got the information they need to present. So I think they should be happy and content with the
How much of this subject do you think we will see when this trial really does kick off and we start to hear testimony? How deeply do you think the prosecution will go into that? I want to know so I can tee that up for the political discussion I'm going to have later, because I do think it has a political implication here.
Well, I think they're going to get really far into the intent issues, right? The atmosphere around that period before the election, the few weeks, what was happening, what voters were doing, what the polling was. Did they think they were going to win or lose? Access Hollywood Hollywood comes out, everything blows up. What do they do next with these women who are threatening to come forward with their stories? All of that kind of getting in the heads of Trump and his advisors, I think they're going to go deep into, but just not these salacious details about when you went into the room with her, what happened, etc.
Jennifer Rogers, Jeremy Saland, great to see both of you. Thank you very much.